When was the last time you felt peace?
Last time I felt peace, it was like 3 years ago or more, 3.5 years ago or something. And like, so we can define peace, right? Because everybody has like different terms on this, right? It's like, this is why this kind of things are so interesting, because everybody has like different things. What is God? What is love? What is this to you, right? But like peace, and I think Naval has a something similar, that it's like when you don't want anything else.
Mm.
Is that it? Right?
I love that definition of peace.
Yeah, you know what my favorite definition of peace is no stress. But to that, you need to define stress, right? So my favorite definition of that, it's stress is when an object wants to be in two places at once. So let's say you have a stick, right? And if you do it like this, it's performing stress. However, if you let it go, then it only wants to be in one direction at once, so it just goes. So sometimes it happens to me that I want to be in two directions at once. That is because I'm feeling stressed. And when I identify what are those two things that I want to do at once, or be at once, or have at once, and I let one go, stress goes away. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it. And I did see it on a Naval podcast, right? So this is not original or whatever.
It's a great thought, though.
Yeah, I love that thing. It's a good visual to have in mind. I think a lot in visuals, which is why I love Jack Butcher, and we'll probably name him a lot in this podcast, right? It's cool because on the business podcast, I'm always talking about Hormozi because I learned so much from him. But like in life, I talk about Butcher, Naval, and all those guys. But yeah. So the last time I felt at peace was the first time I sold like a it wasn't even big, but let's do some context. So I started many businesses, right? Started a perfume business, well, door-to-door perfume business. I sold like 10 perfume bottles or something.
With your grandma, right?
Yeah, with my grandma. No, my grandma was the shirt sewing business. So yeah, so I bought shirts and from the Korean lady at the at the corner store, and then with my grandma we saw some like designs, Guatemalan designs, and I went selling them. Right, I sold one shirt, but that's what happened. Anyway, this was like the one where I'm like I made somewhat of a bigger transaction happen. So it was with a friend in college. We wanted to sell the SaaS so people could keep, like colleges could track community service hours. Very sexy business, right? Very, very, very hot, but that's what we did. And I remember that we went to like the dean and then the I don't know how to call it, rector, like the top guy at the college, right? Where we saw the thing. And we pitched the SaaS. They didn't buy the SaaS, but they bought the research we did for that SaaS, right? It was like a $1,500 thing that they bought for like 1.5 years of work or something like that. Just fucking horrendous. Yeah. But I felt like closure. It felt so great. And they gave us a check. I remember, bro, I went to the library and I photocopied that check. I bought some frames, put them in there. I gave it to my friend Luis. Shout out. We felt like we were superheroes, right? It was great, and I had it in my room. It's framed, right? It's that one check for 11,000 quetzales, which is like $1,500, something like that. And I remember that the day after, because I just did so much and finally like closed it. I remember I woke up. And for the first time in like forever, I'm like, I don't want anything more than what I have now. It's like, this is all I've been working for, like for so long. And it lasted for like 20 seconds. And then I get hungry and I'm like, I'm going to eat something, right? Because I wanted something, like I had a desire at that point, right? But that was like the last time where I'm like, wow, like this is like, I don't want anything else. Like it's like once or twice in my life that I've actually not been thinking about anything, and that's probably the only one I can recall.
So you felt peace when you made that sale, but you didn't feel peace when you made a sale for a much, much higher amount.
Yeah. Yeah. So a $1,500 sale hit harder than a $1.4 million sale. Like it was, what would be cool if I could make the conversion for like quetzales to dollars. Maybe it's 1,400, right? And 1,400, 1.4 mil, that'd be cool. But maybe it is because it's getting devalued. But anyway, we'll roll with that. 1.4 mil versus 1,400. the $1,400 sale hit harder than a $1.4 million sale because it kind of felt like I dropped the ball on the 1.4 mil
Wow.
sometimes
Why?
because it's a 1x multiple for a SaaS. And maybe this goes back to expectations, but at the time, and maybe today, maybe this is true, right? But people are saying you can exit a SaaS for 5, 10, 20, 30x multiple. I'm like, well, I want that, right? I just didn't know any better. And knowing that it was a 1x multiple, and you could like kind of see this in the comment section. It's like that kind of tongue in cheek, as in congrats, but like why? Like why'd you sell it, right? Because we sold it when it was making like 125K a month. So like mathematically it didn't make much sense, but I had to get that little star, right? I had to get the recognition. I had to be like, yeah, like look at me, I exited a company. I had to put fucking acquired in my Twitter bio. Right now I use it because
It's still there.
yeah, it is helpful. It is still there, yeah. But you know, I think it's cooler to own a big company than it is to exit a small company.
Another part of it is like, what would you have done if you weren't playing to other people's perceptions? And how do you not play to your other people's perceptions in the next thing you do?
Yeah. And those are two really good questions. Let's start with the what would I have done differently? It was very weird to me when Thibaut once asked me. Thibaut was one of my co-founders. Thibaut once asked me, JK, would you please stop promoting? Like the fuck? Like, aren't we here to make money? Right? Like, it's like, yeah, but like it's not just about acquisition. Like we need to make sure we retain these people. It's not just promoting, it's actually keeping the customer. And I didn't understand that. So anyway, I just brought a lot of people in. And I remember we had our best month ever. And there's 3 co-founders. It was Thibaut, Thomas, and me. And I'm over the moon. You can see it on the Zoom call. I'm like, fuck yeah, guys, we're crushing it. Like, you're welcome, right? And then these 2 dudes, they're like concerned. I'm like, what are you concerned about? It's like, we gotta repeat it again next month. And I didn't get it because they were thinking in a much longer time frame than me. They were thinking about, yes, exiting, but investors don't just want to see peaks. They want to see exponential growth. They want to see a percentage every month. And that didn't give us that. So when I look back, I would, instead of focusing so much on just trying to get the first image, the really cool like spike, how about you try to build a sustainable business, right? How about you try to actually make the curve look nice instead of like all just jagged.
So how do you do that practically?
Yeah. So Hormozi has this again, right? We should drop a Hormozi word count on this.
Take a shot every time JK says Hormozi, Naval, or Jack Butcher. You are going to be drunk in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it is true. But
okay. I love it. And it shows your filters and sources are good sources and filters, which a lot of people are going throughout life without good mentors, good role models, good filters for what to expect. And the fact that you quote them so often shows just how much they've implanted themselves into your mind, and they're good sources of information. So it's like you're living a life that is incredible. Like you sold the company for $1.4 million. You're very successful, outer metrics of success. What I want to get to in this conversation, hopefully we will, is how do you get to the internal measures of success as well? Because that to me is way more important, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
And so how do you practically get to the place of less peaks and troughs?
Yeah. Well, with the internal thing, it's gonna be a fun one. But okay, so a practical thing, right? So like getting like sustainable growth. So Alex talks about like it's not just about getting more customers, or there's 2 ways to grow a company: get more customers, so you can make every customer worth more. And I just understood the first part. I didn't get the second half of the memo, right? And I was like, no, just get more people. But I only check how many people were coming in, but I never checked the churn. Because to me, it was irrelevant. I didn't get it because it didn't contribute to the shiny screenshot I can share and show people how cool I am. Right? I didn't do that. But now I understand that a lot, which ties back to the second question you asked before, which was how are you not going to play to people's perceptions? Is I focus on building sustainable business more than just a peaky business, you know, something that looks like big in the front end, but it's like really not that cool. Like a lot of people will be like, yeah, bro, like I'm making this much money. I'm like, yeah, cool, but like, how much is profit? Like I got these many clients, where how much are you retaining them? Like I got these many people, how many are talking about your service without you asking them to? Now, like that's the big one. When I partner up with my business partner today, who's Ryan, I asked him like what one of the things that really made me think like this is the guy was when he said, you know what my aim for this company is? I'm like, what? And he said, I want to get a referral from every customer and a customer from every referral. I'm like, I fuck with that. That's so good. I want that. Because then that means that you just don't, you focus on acquisition, which is, you know, half of the thing, but you also focus on the other half of the thing, which is retention, making everybody worth more, ascension. And I really, really, really like that. Now I kind of focus on those two things. But when you focus on the second one, which is ascension, you inherently need to play a more patient game, because acquiring a customer is easier than just, you know, making a customer happy. Like you got to make them love you, right? But that takes a longer time inherently. So it allowed me to play more patient games. So if I could summarize everything I just talked about when it comes to what is the one like correction I'm going to make going forward, it's just I'm going to be patient. Like I'm waiting it out. I'm like, dude, we're in it for 5 years. Are you cool with it? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm like, we're essentially getting married, right? I hope you understand. It's like, yeah. And I like asked him like fucking 10 times, like, Ryan, are you sure? He's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, great. I can play more patient games now, which I never really did in the past. I always wanted like the quick thing, right? Every time I try to cut weight, for example, it's like, dude, like fuck your 300 deficit calorie days. How about you fast for 3 days? Because you gotta be tough. That's how you do it. And then it's like you do it again, and then you fucking crash, and then you bench, right? And it doesn't work anymore. Like speed kills. And that was the main lesson. Like speed kills. Go slow, and eventually you will get there.